How important is the mesh in FEA? When you start learning FEA, everybody tells you that the mesh is the fundamental part in the process of FEA. But I want to ask you, do you know why? To give you the correct answer of that question, I want to show you some different results that I found in this particular project. As you can see, here we have exactly the same definition in both models, but the results are not the same, right? If I just tell you that the mesh is important, but you don't see why, you are not going to believe me. So let's get into it. Hi, Carlos here, and for those of you who don't know me yet, I've been more than 12 years validating real engineering FEA projects across different industries. So I created my validation method to train FEA the way industry actually demands. You will find all the details in the description below. Now let's continue reviewing concepts of that methodology. Before we go into the software, let me remind you the basics of the process that we do in FEA in 3 simple steps. Step number 1, we start from a continuous CAD geometry and we define the materials, the restrictions, the loads, and all the necessary parameters to prepare a virtual model that represents the physical test. Step number 2, we take that model and we divide the continuous geometry into smaller finite portions called elements. These elements are connected by nodes. And once we have our model defined and the mesh prepared, we go to the step number 3. We run the simulation. And what does it mean? I will do another dedicated video to talk about the solver. But basically, it's the process of resolving the differential equations in each of these elements to give us the stress maps and the rest of the results depending on the analysis that we are executing. Okay, then how important is the meshing process in our FEA simulations? As you can see, depending on the mesh you use, the resolution of the differential equations will be different. Therefore, our mission always is to validate those results, taking care of the meshing process. But how? Let's move to the software. Okay, here we are. What do we have here? This is a fork support tractor of a forklift vehicle. In this case, we have the situation where the customer wanted to reduce the weight of these forks and optimize them. Therefore, he requested to study the margin of the forks considering the maximum load during one extreme condition. Then we will need to have all the contacts properly defined between every component. We also need to have the boundaries related to the connections with the rest of the vehicle. Of course, I will prepare more videos talking specifically about contacts, because this is crucial in FEA. Let me show you the simulation symbols to see how this model is defined. Okay, we have the boundary conditions where this extractor is connected to the complete vehicle, and here, representing the maximum object that this vehicle is supposed to lift, I define a punctual mass in the center of gravity of that object. In addition, we also have the gravity load for this study. Okay, let me show you the mesh. Normally, in this type of software, we go to mesh, here, right click and select create mesh. I say okay because I already prepared it. And here, by default, the software is proposing this mesh. So normally what we do is to click OK, and then the software will generate the mesh. Perfect. I will close this because I already prepared it. I will show you. Here we have the default mesh. Not bad, right? It looks okay. So the next step is to run the simulation. Most of the times, I see users running the simulation even before checking the mesh, since the software automatically created and you see your model running, and that's dangerous. You normally click here run this study, but I already prepared them. So let me show you the stress plot. Here we have the results. What we can see that the maximum value is located at the corner of the forks as we were expecting. Since we are applying the load here, the load is transmitted to the vehicle, and the weakest point to transfer that load is this 90 degrees region in the corner. Let's see the global behavior with the animation. I go to stress plot and I'm going to animate. Okay, here we can see how the extractor is moving correctly, right? Nothing is flying, which means that all the contacts are defined properly, and the stress map is indicating how the load is traveling through the fork to the vehicle zone. Okay, so we can say from this point of view that the global behavior is okay. I will exit from here. Therefore, considering the request of the customer to optimize the forks, we can see that the maximum stress value is 232.05 megapascals. And if we look at the legend, we didn't overlap the yield of the material, which means that from this stress value of 232 megapascals until achieving the yield value of 275 megapascals, we would have enough margin to optimize these components. Good. the customer will be happy. But as you can imagine, this doesn't finish here, right? Let's investigate a little bit more in order to validate these results. One of the parameters that measure the mesh quality is the aspect ratio. If I go to mesh details, here we can see that around 50% of the elements are below 3 of aspect ratio, which means that the other 50% is above, and this is a lot. Okay, let's check it. I will prepare the aspect ratio plot. Okay, here we have it. Not bad. The maximum value is not so high, it's around 14. The problem is that we have a lot of elements above the limit of 10, which is one of the filters that we use normally in my training programs to validate the global behavior of one extractor. Definitely, this is not good. But honestly, for this study, I wouldn't care about the rest of the extract. I'm worried about the forks. So, as we saw the maximum value in the corner, I will adjust the top limit to the recommendation of a value of 3. I will change here to 3. Okay, here we can see how these values of aspect ratio in our mesh are indicating a bad quality. So, for the moment, we can say that we don't trust in the results of this region. Then we need to refine our mesh. If you like the content of this video, I will really appreciate you a like, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the next videos coming. And if you want to learn how to actually apply all of this in real engineering projects using my validation method, you can find all the details in the description below. Let's continue. Okay, the way to prepare a correct mesh is by a convergence meshing process. I will prepare a video to show how it works, of course. For this analysis, I already prepared it, so I will show you. Here we have it. Let me show you the mesh. Not bad, right? So from this point of view, we can see that the mesh is looking a little bit more accurate, right? Basically, I was adjusting the mesh size until I found a convergence value in the results, because we can reduce and reduce and reduce the mesh in order to increase the accuracy. But we need to always take care to don't reduce the mesh size drastically and run a simulation without sense. That's the magic of the convergence analysis. I'll prepare a video to take a look. Okay, let's check the results of this study. I go to trace load, right click and show. Okay, the first thing we need to check is the maximum value. The maximum value is happening in the same region, right? Which is good since the global behavior didn't change. So with the previous default mesh, we were able to understand the global behavior, and now we are refining to understand the local detailed regions. Because the interesting point is that now the maximum value is slightly overlapping the yield of the material, right? So now we have 305.72 megapascals, which is higher than the yield value of the material. And this is contradictory to the previous conclusion that we did, right? We need to report that the fork is using the maximum capacity under this stream load. We could study how to improve it or optimize it, but we need to use other ways since this geometry is at the limit of the capacity. For example, we could change the material use or study local countermeasure here. Okay, so then here we prepare a simulation of the fork's super extractor under the stream load condition in order to see if we had margin to optimize the fork. As we use the mesh by default that the software defines, it ran fast and we could understand the global behavior of the extractor. And the most important, we could detect the weakest point. However, the conclusion that we did for that weak point was not correct, since for a detailed local zone, we need to verify always the accuracy of our mesh. After doing that, we saw the maximum stress value is on the limit, and with that geometry of the fork, we are not able to reduce the weight. We will need to think about other ways. Before we finish this video, I want to show you the two meshes that we were working with here. I go to results, right click and compare results. Okay, here we have them. I think that it's easy to say the differences between the two models, right? The mesh density of the refined model is transmitting a good level of accuracy. However, do you really think that we need a super accurate mesh in the entire extractor to study just the forks? I guess your answer is no. Okay, me neither. As I always say in my training programs, we need to think how to be more efficient in our work, because this model could give us good results, but the computational time increased, and this is not efficient. Therefore, in the next video, I will show you how to find the balance between having an accurate model, but also also an efficient one. This is how FEA is applied in industry. We don't press just buttons, we solve complex engineering problems in the most efficient way. If you want to make the difference and learn how to actually apply all of this in real engineering projects using my validation method, you can find all the details in the description below. Subscribe if you haven't yet. See you in next simulation.